Introduction to Led by Faith by Immaculée Ilibagiza. I've titled this introduction, Left to Tell How She Was Led by Faith. When I first read Led by Faith a few months ago, as it happened to me when I read Left to Tell, it was too interesting to drop for a moment. The thought-provoking storylines, laced with edifying implications, were too inspiring to let go. I immediately reread the book after finishing it for the first time. In the second reading, I used part of the text for my daily meditation. Now I can say that I'm looking forward to reading it for the third time. The doctrines of our faith are beautiful when we reflect and contemplate them. But when they come out in story forms, their beauty shines out all the more. They not only engage the mind, but also the heart. I believe many found Left to Tell inspiring for this reason. And I can say such person will also find Led by Faith to be a second part of that adventure. While Immaculée narrated her experience during the war in Left to Tell, Led by Faith tells a story after the war. However, a common thread connects both books to the point where one could even interchange their titles. She was led by faith in the events of Left to Tell, and she was left to tell how she was led by faith. As she narrated her life of survival in the immediate aftermath of the war in Led by Faith, she was also able to place some of the major events in Left to Tell within a broader perspective. The theme of God's providential guidance and forgiveness again took a center stage in the way she relived these events. She showed how the faith that led her to survive the genocide was still very much needed in surviving the aftermath of the war. Just as it is often said that post-surgical recovery may even be more delicate than the surgery itself, the need to live through the aftermath of the war with faith and forgiveness even became more urgent. Without this, she would not have been a fulfilled survivor of the war, as it must have happened to many who had to live through the wounds and hateful feelings that marked them after the losses they experienced in the war. In Left to Tell, some readers had difficulty coping with some of the violent descriptions, even when these were not presented gratuitously. Some adopted a strategy of avoidance, enjoying petty sins, while others could not continue. We have had time to show that avoidance cannot be an effective strategy in the long run, either for preparing ourselves for the worst or living in solidarity with the millions of people who daily fall victim to violence and hatred born out of man's inhumanity to man. Christian teaching and tradition support this fact in making the crucifix the symbol of our faith. Why is it that those who cannot cope with violent sins do not feel so before the crucifix? The image of a half-naked innocent man who was brutalized and nailed on the cross as a criminal. How many of us can stand today to see such being done to a person? Perhaps the reason why we do not get traumatized by the crucifix is that it means something greater for us. It is no longer an image of hatred and violence, but a symbol of love. We see more the love and power of the crucified one than the violence and hatred of those who crucified him. In Led by Faith, Immaculée has placed the gory events of the genocide within the message of the crucified Christ. by inviting us to see the ugly events through His power and love. This enabled her to forgive, just as it allowed her to live and be led by faith. She consistently demonstrated how this faith meant living in the freedom and being a child of God. We St. Augustine expressed as, love God and do what you please. She knew how to hope and dream, and often her dreams fell short of her expectations. She was never afraid to take the hard way and be patient, because if we live in God's hands, it does not matter much whether we are standing or falling. Patience is always a consequence of a living faith. In chapter 8, when she obtained the visa to Nigeria to attend an event under the most unusual and seemingly impossible circumstances, the visa officer who issued her the visa asked what she had done to make the visa issuance possible. Her response, which ended the chapter, was, God, I said with a smile, I believed that He would make a miracle happen to me, and He did. All I had to do was to have faith and patience. True faith is distinguished by patience. Such patience is rooted in a total submission to God, who always answers our prayers even when it delays or says no to a particular request. Once again, we trust in Mary, the Mother of the Word, and Our Lady of Kibeo, to guide us through another edifying study. Father Idahosa Amadasu, Coordinator, World Sharing Cell Christian Book Club, November 4th, 2025.
O clement, O pure, O ducis Virgo Maria.